All right. Thank you so much, President Baldwin, and good evening, board members and community. And as always, want to start off by just giving some updates on what's been happening with NOLA PS. And we always like to begin with a mental minute, just taking a few moments to think about what we're thinking about and check in with ourselves. This is called Mental Minute Bingo. There are a lot of different ways to just take a pause and a rest break, even if it's just taking a break from social media or taking time to journal your thoughts or getting some fresh air. So just be sure that you make it your goal to cover the whole board, even if it means maybe you're replacing some of them with something that's more similar to what you enjoy doing. Feel free to let us know how this works for you. Follow us on social media for more Mental Minute ideas. And we always want to thank our team members who continue to choose NOLA Public Schools. And so we do have a short video to recognize some of our team members for their years of service. A lot of years. Give them a round of applause. Yeah, and if you could see those numbers, we've got Jennifer, who's been with us for 45 years as one of our audiologists, which is a highly sought after role, and so we are so grateful for her. We've got Deborah Dean, who's with our federal programs, 45 years there as well. Tammy Franklin with our child nutrition technicians, 25 years. Janice Jones, also child nutrition, 15 years. We've got Erin, one of our amazing social workers, been with us for 30 years. And then Kayla, was part of our educational diagnosticians team, 10 years. And last and certainly not least, Julia with our child search pathologist, and she's celebrating her 5th year this month. So congratulations to all of our team members for your milestones. And as always, thank you for choosing NOLA PS and continuing to choose NOLA PS. All right, so one of the biggest things that's been happening in the last couple of weeks is back to school. And I had the great pleasure of joining McMain High School as well as Capto on their first day this year. Was treated by music by the Grammy Award-winning Mustang Choir, which is always fantastic. And you can flip through a couple of those pictures. I stopped by the Capto STEAM Academy, which was amazing. Hung out with the scholars there, and just hearing them being excited, about seeing their friends, but also about what they plan to learn for the year was really nice. And you can check out our back to school messages. And we've got messages from several of our board members, city council members, and several other partners who are working with us. And we've got some more videos scheduled. So if we have not gotten your video yet, stay tuned, because we certainly want to ensure that the entire community is supporting our scholars. Our theme is Attend Today, Achieve Tomorrow. And it's a message that all of our community leaders can certainly share and help us embrace. So not too late if you want to help welcome our scholars back to school and encourage that great attendance. All you have to do is connect with DJ, and he can set up a time to record your message. And for any community leaders who want to record their own, you can certainly email it to us at communications@nolapublicschools.com. We're always excited to welcome our scholars back to school. And part of that welcoming also included ensuring that they had the school supplies that they need. And once again, want to thank Fox 8 for their partnership as we were able to really gain so many donations to help give our families one less thing to have to think about and worry about as we start the school year. I did have a great time at the Walmart in Algiers, and want to commend our bands that came out. And y'all, it was hot out there. It was very hot. Abramson, Frederick Douglass, and Sarah T. Reed bands came out, and it was great for them to join us. It was interesting. I ran into a couple of families when I went inside to buy school supplies, and just asked to see the school supply list. And, it's a lot. And I can only imagine for many of our families that have multiple children, how much that can add up. So thank you to the community for all of their support in donating those supplies. I also had the pleasure to speak at the MLK High School or Friends of King organization's retreat. Their retreat for back to school included their entire team, faculty, and staff. And their theme was about a prescription for success. And I did a segment on a prescription for joy. And it was great to hear their plans for the year and to see the level of engagement that they had. I did a lot of talking about their culture and making sure that they prioritize culture in terms of how they move forward with success. So I definitely wish them and all of our CMOs a joyful school year. Now, we know each month is always tied to something special to celebrate, and I think most of us are familiar with September being about attendance awareness, but did you know that this month is National Truancy Prevention Month? And it's a time to just emphasize the importance of consistent school attendance. Every day matters. We get to class so that we're not missing those days and missing opportunities for learning and growth. And we know chronic absenteeism can set scholars back both academically as well as socially, and it adds up over time. So again, our campaign is Attend Today, Achieve Tomorrow, and we'll continue to promote that throughout the year. And one of the things I mentioned in my back to school video is that, for our seniors, they have that opportunity to win a car at the end of the year. So certainly some incentive to ensure that your attendance is on point. This month is also Get Ready for Kindergarten Month, and this was new for me. It's a start of a school year, and it's a great time to just continue to make sure that our families have the support that they need. We're encouraging families to engage in those activities like reading together, practicing basic skills, even letter recognition. So many things that we can do to make sure that our babies are what we call kindergarten ready, so that they're ready to begin learning and engaging and even developing those social skills. And our schools are able to provide resources and support so those transitions can be as smooth as possible. So let's wrap our arms around our youngest learners and make sure that they have the confidence to continue learning with excitement. And we know that we had our the Leah Chase School opening celebration a little over a week ago, and also first day of school. We had the first day for 1st through 5th grade last week, and our kindergarten babies came this week. And so it was great to be able to see the smiling faces. I did go by and visit yesterday, and for our kindergarten babies, most of the tears had stopped. They looked like they were very happy in learning, and just want to commend our team at the Leah Chase School, our amazing principal, Crystal LaFrance, and assistant principal, Mr. Tiller, and their entire team for their work, not only for the events that we planned prior to the opening of schools, but just for a smooth opening. It's difficult for school openings to be completely seamless, but this was one of the smoothest that I've encountered in my career. And it was just really great to see the teamwork within our teammates there. So great job there. Certainly enjoyed the ribbon cutting and want to thank all of our families and the community for attending. Special thanks to the Chase family for attending, and for Miss Stella Chase Reese for sharing words during the event. And it was a joyous moment, and lots of celebrating happened outside with great music and just a lot of fun. And just excited to be back in school. So welcome, welcome, welcome to all of our scholars. Just an update on our enrollment as shared on Tuesday. We've got 325 enrolled, and we're now at 301 registered. So ready to begin an incredible school year. At this month's, or the most recent rendition of Education Elevation, I had the pleasure of talking to our assistant principal for the Leah Chase School, as well as our SPED coordinator, Ms. Martin, and one of our kindergarten teachers, Ms. Clark, and just learning more about what they were excited about. This was at a week or two before school started, so they were very much in preparation. But you can check out Education Elevation on our NOLA PS YouTube channel. The next episode will be on August 28th at 11:30. 7:30. And we'll be talking about school attendance for that particular address. And speaking of addresses, we will have our district's State of the District address on Thursday, September 19th, just before our board business meeting. Last year, I did this in conjunction with my one-year anniversary, but this year I wanted to make sure we could look at our district through the lens of our strategic plan of action. And since it was approved by the board last October, we wanted to have that time where it's been at least in the implementation phase for close to a year. And then, of course, once we were moving towards opening the Leah Chase School, also wanted to be able to share information of how the opening went, and certainly wouldn't have been able to do that in July. So more information to come on that in the next week or so. And I'm going to move from there to LEAP scores presentations, but I'll pause briefly to see if there were any questions about anything I've covered thus far. All right, let's talk LEAP. So just as an executive summary, we do have some growth that we can certainly see, and making sure that we are moving forward. Our students of color grew. We do still see that in our schools where the concentration of poverty is more pronounced, that it certainly impacts learning. We do see some patterns in terms of the segregation of where average black students attend a school with a much larger share of students of color, students from families experiencing poverty more than the average white student. And so just some of those trends that we have seen, and that it certainly do impact our bottom line as it relates to student outcomes. In terms of some of our internal practices and policies, we still want to make sure that we're looking closely at what families need, whether we're talking transportation or any other access that we can provide for our families. And so just to have an overview for the 23-24 school year, this is for LEAP 2025 exams. We administered approximately 75,000 exams, and this is for students in grades 3 through 8 for ELA, math, and science. Social studies was not administered during this previous school year. And then we also know that LEAP high school test covers English 1 and 2, algebra, geometry, biology, as well as U.S. history. And the tests are scored on a scale of 1 to 5, with advanced being the highest and unsatisfactory being the lowest. The goal is mastery, which means that grade level standards have been mastered. And overall, our district did improve mastery rate by 2 percentage points, which is great that we're moving in the right direction. And you can see on this particular chart, this shows some comparisons in terms of our local context. I know Mr. Parker likes to look at our neighboring districts as well as the state to see how we compare. And on this, you can clearly see that we're making progress and certainly moving in the right direction. From the statewide standpoint, the state remained the same, where we grew 2 points, and St. Tammany also remained the same, where Jefferson Parish lost 1 point and EBR only gained 1, and Caddo also stayed the same. So we do like to look at where we compare with surrounding districts, and especially districts that are similar composition to ours. Within our own district, we also like to look at how our scholars are doing in terms of their achievement gaps, or they're based on their various subgroups. And so for this for particular one, you can see that even though we gained overall, our black students and our white students did gain, but in various subject areas, we are comparable to the state rate, but in terms of mastery, there are certainly some gaps. And we definitely want to take a close look at the achievement gaps, even as we're looking at growth, because ultimately we want more of our scholars to be at that mastery level, even if they are growing towards that. This is just another slide that continues to just show those particular numbers in terms of how we rank within our various subgroups. I also wanted to take a look at how we look in terms of opportunities for growth. So I mentioned that the 2%, which is enough where the state recognized us for the second time for being one of the top 10 districts for growth, which is awesome. But we also want to look at that individual mastery range. So for our schools, it did range from 6% to 95%. And most of our schools were just below 25% in terms of mastery. And then the next slide, I believe, shows what it looks like when we consider our schools in comparison to the state as a whole. And you can see these numbers. Certainly, again, doing great in terms of making the growth, but room for improvement for some of our schools. You can see here that for our top 10 enrollment schools, of course, many of them outpace the state and the district, which is fantastic. A lot of amazing work happening within our schools. And this is where you can look at our schools with that have eligibility requirements, because we did think it was important that, we know when schools focus on academics in terms of the admission criteria, we wanted to look at that separately. So this is where you can see how much these schools outpace the entire district and very much outpace the state as well in terms of their outcomes. This shows our schools that performed at the lowest levels. And again, instead of outpacing, of course, we're looking at these schools being far below district and state averages. I've said so before several times, lots to celebrate. Next slide. In terms of our schools with the largest increases, and I've shouted out Inspire NOLA on several occasions because their growth has been really remarkable across their network. I'm really excited with the growth seen at McMain, as well as 35, Alice Hart, and Cabdo. And then we also look at the Rooted School, really substantial growth there, along with Abersom. And when we look at our elementary schools, they're not to be left out. Kudos to Harriet Tubman as well as Eisenhower for the growth that they achieved. And again, we always want to ensure that we're moving in the right direction. That's always going to be job number one. And we need to also continue to ensure that we're looking across all of our subgroups and identifying areas for growth and improvement. I think one more slide. These are the largest declines. Lots going on in terms of the entire school year. And so when we look at this, this is always a reminder that we know that our scholars are more than just this 1 day on a test or 2 days on a test. We want to continue to move in the right direction, and certainly want to look at how we can support scholars who fell below basic or weren't approaching basic. And for these particular schools, certainly know that they're looking at various ways to do intervention so that they can support their scholars and make sure we're moving in the right direction. And with that said, I will take any questions that you may have. Do you have one? Mr. Zervagan?
Just a simple observation that, each class is also different from one class to another. There'll be differences in performance. And so when we look at the 1 year ups and downs, gains and losses, just reminding the general public and all to think about it more longitudinally. There was one point where the state, they had this thing where, like, if you dropped 1 year, they wanted to put you on probation, which is kind of funny because maybe this year's juniors weren't quite the same as last year's juniors, and they dropped that pretty fast. But I particularly am so pleased with us outpacing the rest of the state in growth, being one of the top ones.
Yep.
We have schools
Second year in a row.
Yeah,
that's significant.
Seeing us looking average and considering the nature of our district, that's actually very, very, very significant, considering some of the parishes that then the statistics would be put up against. And to complement the work being done in all of our schools throughout the city with the excitement of opening day, with starting a new year, and for so many schools looking at such great work last year, then to try to build on that continued growth and achievement, it's exciting, and I hope for the best for everyone in their hard work throughout the district. So.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. Again, as long as we're moving in the right direction, there's always going to be something to celebrate. So appreciate the hard work that's being done at all of our schools. Any other questions, Mr. Parker?
Yeah, just to build off of what Mr. Zervigon was saying, I love the longitudinal success that we're seeing. You know, we were top 6 in the state last year. I think we're top 5, maybe even top 2 again. I would love to see how our growth over the last 2 years compares to districts across the state, because I think we'd see an even starker comparison. And really, really proud of the work that our schools have been doing to move students forward, including Mr. Zervigon's alma mater, McMain, which I believe
It was remarkable. It was stellar.
I think it's top 5% in the state for mastery growth. So I wanted to make sure that they got their shine, probably because of their engaged alumni. But so I would love to see that growth over 2 years. And I think we are in a special place in Orleans because most urban districts in this country are still talking about COVID, and they're still talking about the impacts that COVID has had. And we surpassed our pre-pandemic achievement levels last year. So we're not talking about that anymore. We're talking, and you know, a lot of people would expect you'd get back to where you were before COVID and you'd kind of stagnate, but our schools have continued to push students forward. And I just want to commend all of our educators for that, and hope that we continue to celebrate them for those really impressive results.
Absolutely. Other thoughts or questions? All right. Well, that concludes my. Oh, go ahead, Mrs. Irvine.
One more. And I would also, I would thank you for always highlighting when we see disparities. We did see a drop in some of the EL performance. It did not carry forward with everybody else. And we see the continued disparities amongst demographics, and I think that we would always, I appreciate that you highlight that we note it, it's not acceptable, and that it is up to everyone in the system to address that with great intention and meaningful action, to never accept it, and understand that it's the problem of the adults to bring everyone forward together. And so I appreciate you're doing that.
Absolutely. We have to keep our eye on the prize, and we certainly want to close as many gaps as we can for our scholars and families. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Dr. Williams.